Hi, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Rob Thomas, your Everything Microsoft Enterprise Cloud Architect. And today we're going to dig into Microsoft SQL Server. So in this video, I'm going to break down what is Azure SQL. Whether you're new to the cloud or trying to migrate your database, this will give you a clear, simple overview of Azure SQL and its services. So before we get started, let's give a shout out to our sponsors. And the enterprise software solution, the software dudes. I want to highly recommend these dudes. These guys are great for any of your Microsoft 365, Microsoft Dynamics, Copilot, Azure, SQL Server, Windows Server needs. By all means, reach out to these guys. You can see all their customers. They are really good. I highly recommend them. They'll help you if you have any Microsoft needs. So let's jump into this. All right. So Microsoft SQL is Microsoft's family of cloud-based database services. Now, it's built using the SQL Server engine. So if you're already familiar with SQL Server, you're in good shape. The best part, it's fully managed. That means Microsoft handles all the heavy lifting from patching, backups, updates, performance tuning, you name it. You spend less time on maintenance and more time on building apps and innovation. So you can see here on the slide, the modern data problem, how to derive value from data, what happens historically, what happens now, what's going to happen. Each dimension of data is consistently expanding. So you can just see ultimately these questions, these modern data problems is wherein the concept of a SQL Server, having a SQL Server database and having one that's fully managed is really powerful. Now, so why do you go with Azure SQL? Now here's the deal. It's always up to date with the latest, security and performance improvements or performance enhancements, right? It lets you keep using the tools and languages you already know, and critical tasks like high availability and disaster recovery are automated. And high availability just means the uptime, right? It doesn't crash, something's wrong, and it's down for an hour. You want to get 4 nines, 99.99. You want to have really good high availability uptime. Also, disaster recovery is that there's a backup feature built inside. So if something was to happen, someone was to hack your hack your database, got in and wreak havoc, and some type of SQL injection was involved, you can restore you could just do a backup and restore from a point in time, and then your database will be ready and up to, will be restored, and you'll be able to go ahead and use it from that snapshot in time, which is really cool. Now, let's talk about the main services under Azure SQL. Now, you have Azure SQL Database. Now, this is fully managed, a serverless option, right? Ideal for building modern cloud applications. No need to manage hardware or software. You have Azure SQL managed instances. Think of this as the best of both worlds. It offers near 100% compatibility with SQL Server, making it perfect for migrating your existing apps to the cloud. Now, SQL Server on Azure virtual machines, this is more like SQL Server that's a traditional way, but in the cloud. You get full control using OS level access, great for legacy apps and custom setups. And then there is Azure SQL Edge, a compact, high-performance SQL engine built on IoT scenarios. Think smart devices, sensors, and edge computing. And a good example of this is like if there was a wind turbine, the wind turbine would actually have in the actual wind turbine, right? And let's say in the cloud you have your virtual machine, but that turbine is going to have Azure SQL Edge inside of that turbine. So inside of the turbine itself, in the hardware, the Azure SQL Edge will be installed, and it's going to be capturing all the transactional data that's actually happening, right? I was watching this really 3-hour webinar where they were going in depth about SQL Edge and wind turbines and how it was able to capture that data and then pass that data up to the larger database. And then we're able to capture that data and put into machine learning. And then we're able to get some and analyze that data and come and get some insight into it. So that just gives you kind of an idea. And as you could see here, I was just kind of mentioning, physical is more traditional, and then there's virtual, IaaS, and then PaaS and SaaS. So you'll have, these different versions, and then we'll get into like on-premise, infrastructure as a service, platform as services, and you can just see like managed by the customer. So this is a fully on-premise. You're just responsible for everything, and then infrastructure as a service, and then you're not. Microsoft is responsible for these items, and now they're responsible for more, right? So that just gives you a little bit more understanding. Now, here's how these services stack up by categories. Now, SQL Server on Azure VMs is infrastructure as a service, and you manage more, but gain full control. SQL Database and managed instances are both platform as a service. They're fully managed, and they take care of the most admin work for you. And then Azure SQL Server sits in a unique spot tailored for IoT and edge computing, where performance, space, and speed matters most. So how do you pick the right one? Building a modern app with no infrastructure headaches, go with Azure SQL Database, right? It's more of this type of feature, right? You need full control or OS access, use Azure SQL on Azure virtual machines. Deploying smart sensors or edge devices, that's the job for Azure SQL Edge. Now, think of your app requirements, level of control needed, and where you want your database to live. So those are things I wanted you to think about as you make this decision, trying to figure it out. Now, in the next video, I'm going to show you, in a future video, I'm going to show you live how to spin this up, how to spin up an Azure SQL Server database. All right. And that's a wrap for Azure SQL. To recap, Azure SQL is a powerful, flexible family of cloud-based services that meet a wide range of needs, from full control to fully managed and even IoT edge solutions. If you found this helpful, hit the like button, subscribe for more cloud and tech videos, and let me know in the comments which Azure SQL servers your organization is using or considering. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.